Well, hi, we are live. I'm Tom Sult, a medical doctor and functional medicine practitioner here at Just Be Well.
I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse and whole life coach.
And so today we're talking about stress. And specifically, how did we get here? Why do we live in an all yang, all the time, stress filled, hyper go? I just saw this morning an ad that said something like adrenaline filled workout. It's like,
That's what we
wow.
need, more adrenaline.
Yeah, that's what we need. More adrenaline because being chased around all day, every day isn't enough. So I don't know. How did we get here?
I think we got here by our environments.
You mean like these things?
Yeah, by our cell phones, by just, I think if we view success from a level of society,
Stuff.
yeah, it's stuff, it's accomplishments, um, it's degrees, and while all these things are good, and there's a lot of things that you can get that are meaningful that create lasting memories. Um, but when we put success as the pedestal to our happiness, that's the one thing we don't achieve is happiness. We really need to learn how to be present in our daily lives and cultivate happiness where we are, and then that's where true success really comes from.
Yeah. Don't try to be successful so you can be happy. Instead, be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and that will foster success. Most of the things that I think we believe are often just backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Change so that you can love yourself. No, love yourself and see the change.
Mm-hmm.
What does love yourself mean? It's part of the stress management equation. I mean, you were talking yesterday, you and I, about this, and, you know, um, the issue came up about, love yourself first, but how do you love yourself first? What is that all about?
Loving yourself first means forgiving yourself. So, forgiving yourself for mistakes that you've made. And I really like to rephrase that. I mean, we all make mistakes and we know they're mistakes, but when you look at them more of a level of like, okay, this choice that I made or the situation I'm in, what is it trying to teach me? And I think when you live from the standpoint of lessons learned instead of mistakes made, that can really help you cultivate some forgiveness. And I think a lot of times we have a hard time forgiving ourselves, or we beat ourselves, even though we say we forgive ourselves, we beat ourselves up over and over again for the same exact thing.
Yeah. In fact, Don Miguel Ruiz in his book The Four Agreements talks about that very thing. And we're the
Mm-hmm.
only species that beats ourselves up repeatedly over the same mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it's not repeatedly over the same mistake, it's repeatedly about every single mistake. And not, if you make a mistake and you take ownership of that mistake and you learn from that mistake, that is a very different experience than, oh, I made a mistake. I better cover up the mistake. I better hide the mistake. I better not let anybody know I made a mistake. And that is the stress inducing bit of it.
Mm-hmm. And if
Taking,
you look back, a lot of times you're doing the best that you can in that situation. And we're all kind of seeking the same things. We want to really belong. We want to be connected to others. We crave. We need attention. All of those things. That is what we're seeking a lot of times.
yeah. And so, as you said a minute ago, you make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
The question is not, oh my God, oh, I made a mistake. The question is, okay, what did I learn about from that? And how did that mistake inform who I am today? There's a beautiful thing. I wish I should have just popped into my mind. I should have queued it up so we could watch it on this broadcast. But
Mm.
the I think she's like a Miss America or something who tried to become Miss whatever state she was from and failed and failed and failed and failed, and finally she became Miss America. And somebody said to her, well, finally, and she said, well, you know what, I wasn't the person then that I am today. I
That I
wasn't
needed to
capable,
be,
that I needed to be, that I
to
needed to be.
become. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can tell you there have been many mistakes I've made in my lifetime that have shaped who I am. And without those mistakes, I wouldn't have the insights and the wisdom and the understanding of life in general, right? I made some terrible mistakes. I mean, I'm not the most diplomatic guy on the planet, and it turns out it's a team sport. You got to be diplomatic. You got to be able to converse with people in ways that they can hear and not be offended by. And if you don't learn those lessons, things don't go well for you in life. We can't all be John Wayne, just ripping and snorting and carrying on all the time and somehow expect people to care. They don't. So, that's sort of the problem, right? We live in this society where society holds up results and holds up production, and those are really not things that make us feel warm and fuzzy. What makes us feel warm and fuzzy is somebody letting us know that we did a good job. Not the job itself, but even in a fail, it's possible to get feedback that was, if you wouldn't have tried, we for sure wouldn't know, but now we know. We know that way doesn't work. And that's often thought of as the Silicon Valley culture, where, fail as fast as you can, because failure is the fastest way to the next breakthrough, right? But most of us don't think that way. Most of us think, oh my God, I made a mistake. The world is coming to an end. Well, no, it isn't. What is happening is you're learning something, and you can apply that learning to the next thing you do.
So when we're stuck in and I shouldn't say stuck in our day-to-day lives, but when we're stuck on the hamster wheel in our day-to-day lives, so you've got all of these things on your to-do list. Maybe you're working from home now. Maybe you're trying to help your kids do remote learning.
Like you are today.
Have a couple jobs, yes.
Have a couple jobs like you do today.
Yes. How do you deal with that stress? And for me personally, the first step and the easiest step, and it's always there, is to bring my awareness back to my breath.
Yeah, that's actually, it's interesting. I was looking at the screen and I realized to look straight up, I have to lean over because it's a wide angle lens. So if I'm not really leaning, I'm straight up. But anyway, yeah, absolutely. Breath. Something really powerful and interesting about the breath. The breath is the most conscious place that we have some interaction with our autonomic nervous system. There are a few people, yogis and so on, who can speed up or slow down their heart rate or make themselves sweat or not sweat or whatever. But all of us can control our breath on some level. And so, what to you is your quick tune-up throughout the day breath technique? What do you like to do?
I just like to, wherever I'm at, obviously, I just sit, relax. Either I'm more relaxed with my legs crossed. So I usually sit with my legs crossed in some sort of fashion, and I just breathe in and out through my nose. And I like to count when I breathe too, especially when I have a lot going on, because really with the counting and the concentrating on the breathing, that's all you can really focus on. And it really just brings you into your body, into the present moment. And that breathing also helps to relax you.
Yep.
So it's an easy way to just gain control. And doing that intermittently throughout the day makes a huge difference if you can bring yourself back into balance repeatedly. And likely you're probably going to, like me, start spinning out of control intermittently during the day, but that bringing my awareness back to my breath and concentrating on my breath and breathing through my nose where it's a little bit more resistance and control just centers me.
I have an app on my phone that chimes every hour. And it just says, HRV, which is heart rate variability, because I started it to do that. But now what I do is a technique where I try to, so being phovically focused, which means the most critical aspect of your eyes. So if you're reading or you're looking at a computer screen and you just focus on that central vision, that's actually a sympathetic activity. Having a wide peripheral view, that's a parasympathetic activity. So every hour my phone goes off, I do the same thing, a couple of breaths just to kind of roll my shoulders and relax. And it's exhale that is parasympathetic. So nice slow inhale, nice slow exhale. not a bunch of them. I'm not trying to hyperventilate. I'm just trying to relax my shoulders and kind of, get my spine out of its frozen position. But then I try to become aware of my peripheral vision and all the sounds in the background, not latching on to those sounds, just aware that there are sounds. So instead of being so focused in that all the rest of the world goes away, instead broadening my view to see the periphery. I can see my fingers way out here. I can see the wall over there. I can see the color of the wall over there. I can see the light above us and the desk below me. I'm not just focused on my computer. So I've widened my perceptions, and that's a parasympathetic view. That's a view that's important if you're walking around in a jungle and you need to be aware of predators around you, right? You need to be aware of all these sounds, not focused on them, unless something happens that makes you realize you better focus on them, but aware of them. And so that's just another meditation technique. It's an awareness technique rather than a focus technique. And so I do that for just 30 seconds. 30 seconds, I just replant myself. I feel myself in the chair, the gravity of the chair. I hear everything around me. I see the wider view just for 30 seconds. And then, okay, and I try to hold that broader awareness as long as I can, which is, depending on the day, maybe 19 nanoseconds. And then I'm back to focused on what I'm doing. But then an hour goes by and I try to bring it up. And the goal would be to walk around all day, every day in this broad awareness state. And that can be challenging. But having some routine throughout the day so that you don't just get more and 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 more uptight all day long. Instead, relaxing several times throughout the day.
You relax. You get uptight, you relax.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's in addition to any meditative practice you may have. These are just little things to do throughout the day. So I would love, I know there are a few of you online, I'd love to hear what you guys do for stress management. It would be great to have a little conversation about that.
Or comment later.
Yeah, or comment later.
Anytime.
We'll circle back to anything. But stress impedes your immune system. It interrupts your hormones. It causes problems with digestion and absorption. It does nothing good long term. Now, if there really is a saber-toothed tiger chasing you, well, stress is good, right? But most of our saber-toothed tigers in the modern era are imagined. And so my post from this morning was about journaling. What do you think about journaling?
I love journaling. It's one of my favorite things to do.
What do you do with a journal? What's the point of a journal?
A journal is just a way for me to process some of my thoughts and emotions in a different way, because it feels different, even as compared to, maybe thinking about them or talking about them, even talking about them to a counselor. Writing them down is a different way of processing them in your brain. So for me, writing has always been very powerful. I love to write, and I'm a writer. So journaling is a great way for me to get all that mumbo jumbo out of my brain onto paper and help me process my
Thoughts can be
stress.
very abstract, but you have to really formulate a thought to get it on paper. So if you get the thought on paper and you realize it's a crazy thought, you can process that and write more about it, right? So it's a way of, like, all those nasty, awful people are against me. Well, those nasty, awful people probably don't care one way or the other about you. It's your perception of their...
Right. They're probably not thinking about me because I am not that important.
Right, and they're more involved in their own world.
Yes, everybody's involved in their own lives.
Right, so by putting it on paper, it forces you to formulate it into a complete thought, and then that allows you to analyze that thought and then change the actual conscious belief about that thought. No, that's not true. What is true is that, I just got cut off in a car, right? I'm driving along, somebody cut me off, and you think, well, well, that person didn't cut you off on purpose, almost certainly. What they did do is not see you. And if you start to put it in the context of, oh yeah, you know what, last month I did that, and it was really embarrassing, and I meant no harm, but that person really yelled at me. He was using the one finger salute and all kinds of things. So I'm going to give this person a little grace and remember they weren't trying to do anything bad to me. They just didn't see me. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Jody. So she said a couple things I do is get up from my desk computer once an hour and walk around at least a couple minutes, moving my head and neck around. And I have a breathing reminder on my Apple Watch. Those are great.
Yep. That's
And movement is great.
getting up out of your chair. That sometimes is really, really hard when you're, on a deadline, or most of us feel like we're on a deadline
Engrossed in
24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you feel like you're in
the middle of writing it and you don't want to take a step back. But a lot of times when you do, when you come back, you're so much more efficient.
Yeah, there are tons of studies that show that taking these little micro breaks make us dramatically more productive. So the very thing we're avoiding doing is the thing that's going to make us more productive. Yeah. It's not sitting there doing an all-nighter or working long hours day after day after day. It's actually taking a break, refreshing, and restarting. That's what makes you more productive.
And so, I mean, all these little tidbits I think are great. But for you, if you had to choose one supplement that you could take that kind of aids you in this process and helps support you, what would it be?
L-theanine.
Okay, that would be mine too.
Yeah, L-theanine is an amino acid extract of green tea. And I like to call it meditation in a bottle. It's not a sedative. It doesn't, make you slow or like alcohol or something. But it takes the sharp edges off of things. And it reinforces a sort of a calm state. It's been described as a yin tonic in Eastern philosophy and as a parasympathetic support in Western philosophy.
And you've always called it meditation in a bottle, or did you already say that?
I did already say that.
I was like, wait a second, Elizabeth. I think he already said that.
That sounds really familiar.
Well, I've only heard you say it 1,000 times.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Yeah,
That's why it sounded familiar.
So L-theanine, it's just a little capsule. Again, it's an amino acid from green tea. Very simple to take. Usually the ones we have come, I think, what are our called? It's called Theacalm. Theacalm, maybe I need more of it. Theacalm is just 1 or 2 pills. And you can take it in the morning because it doesn't make you sleepy or drowsy. You can take it in the afternoon. You can take it in the evening. And a lot of people start with a small dose in the morning, just 1 pill in the morning, and then maybe 2 at noon, and then maybe 2 after you get home, to try to set the tone and stage for the evening. And then the other piece, I think an important transition is from work to home. Many of us are working at home these days, but if you're not working at home and you're trying to come home, having some sort of ritual break between work and home and remembering all the stress of the work day, I need to wash that off and walk into the house prepared to be a member of this family. And that's really important. And I have found that very difficult in my career. I have a fairly stressful job that I do. And, working with people who are chronically not well. And it's very hard to listen to these very difficult stories. I mean, not that I don't want to listen. It's just, it's emotionally taxing. Yeah. And so trying to have some sort of ritual where the work day is over, the family day is beginning in the evening. I think another really important thing.
Yeah, and especially if you're working at home now, because I think
even more important probably.
Because at least when we leave work and we come home. But when you're working from home and your office is from
when was
home,
your last email for work last night?
11 o'clock. They're probably wondering, why is she emailing me at 11 p.m.?
Yeah.
Well, that's when I got to my last email at work.
Yeah. So it's probably more important now that we're working at home because it's possible for it to never end, right? And it needs to end because we need, there's sort of a reason it's broken up into these 8-hour periods. I think 8 hours of work is too much, but 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play, 8 hours of sleep, right? And we don't do the 8 hours of play part.
When's the last time you got 8 hours of play?
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Never. Unless I'm on vacation. And frankly, it takes me 2 or 3 days on vacation to unwind and be ready to go. So doing these rituals throughout the day prime me to be more ready, to be able to let go of it and say, you know what, tomorrow's a new day. We're going to tackle this problem tomorrow, but now it's a different time. It's a time for recreation and regeneration and rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, um, I don't know, what other thoughts do you have about stress management? We have a lot of information on our website about stress
Mm-hmm.
management, and we're both big advocates of a morning ritual, and you can
Mm-hmm.
find our morning ritual on our webpage in um, our Rebalance to Heal program. So if you go to healing programs along the top, healing programs, and then slide down to Rebalance to Heal, you
Mm-hmm.
can find our morning ritual. And we actually use it more of a morning and evening ritual, and then sometimes in between as well. Because meditation isn't really something that you want to just do at a time. Meditation is something we're trying to bring into our everyday
Daily life.
walking around
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. It's something you want to really be doing moment to moment, because meditation is just immersing yourself in the present moment.
Right. And so, one of my favorite sayings about mindfulness is, if you have one foot in the past and one foot in the future, you've got nothing to stand on in this moment. And
Mm-hmm.
this moment is when everything is actually happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's stress management in a nutshell
For today, yeah.
for today. So we are doing something new every day, where I'm going to be trying to do a live in here every weekday. There are 5 areas in the modifiable lifestyle factor. So there's um, uh, I can't remember the first one. The first one is
Sleep.
sleep. Thank you very much. The first one is sleep.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is exercise and movement. The third one is nutrition. The fourth one is stress management. And this happens to be the 4th day of the week. So, stress management. And then the 5th one is relationships. So, we're going to be just cycling like that. So, Wednesdays are going to be nutrition day, and Thursday is going to be stress day, and Friday is going to be relationship day, and so on. And so we'll be doing these short videos, either myself or Elizabeth or both of us, every day, and cycling through this stuff. And hopefully, questions will come up, and they can be, gosh, how does this apply to Lyme disease, or how does this apply to fibromyalgia? And we can talk a lot about these 5 modifiable lifestyle factors are actually critically important. It's the foundation of health.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we want to talk about these so much more. And then we'll also continue to do other, content in here surrounding disease-specific stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we're going to try to bring in, obviously, new things with each topic every week. So we won't be repeating ourselves every week.
Yeah.
Talking about specific topics related to each area.
So on Nutrition Day, we might talk about a supplement. We might talk about a specific fruit. We might talk about a meal plan. We might talk about
a recipe.
Maybe
we'll cook.
Right. Maybe we'll set it up in the kitchen. We've done that a few times.
Yeah.
And on, stress management day or relationship day, we'll talk about different ideas about how to bring the spark back, or how to maintain the spark, or how maybe it's not an intimate relationship, it's a friendship or whatever. And
maybe it's about communication or
communication, or any number of other topics. So the idea is whole life wellness. And whole life means everything from your physiology to your spirituality. And they all need to be humming well in order to be truly well. All right, so anything else you wanted to add?
I don't think so.
All right. I'm a big favor of apps, by the way, whether it's an app on your phone or any other wearable device. I frequently recommend people buying Fitbits or Apple Watches or whatever, because they keep you honest. It's really easy to say, "Oh yeah, I ran." Well, actually, maybe I didn't. But the watch tells you right now if you did or you didn't. If you did, you get your steps or not.
I got my children all Fitbits for Christmas.
Yeah.
Actually, they're really into them, so that's kind of cool for right now. It tracks their sleep. It tracks.
They're teenagers, 2 of them, so
their activity.
Sleep is often challenging.
So it's just making them aware of
and
it.
And this doesn't count as activity, So, the Fitbit helps them remember to, oh, yeah, I really didn't get outside and do anything today. So that's been helpful too. Yeah. All right. Until next week, or actually until tomorrow. And we used to be weekly, but now it's every day. All right. Until tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.